Okay, Renter's Handbook on Mold. Landlords are legally required to keep your rental habitable, which is legalese for livable. That means that landlords must make any repairs necessary to stop the growth of mold in a rental. But renters also have legal obligations. Renters are required to do what they can to prevent mold growth. Often that means that renters need to open windows, run exhaust fans, keep items from touching the walls, and reduce moisture in the air. So, how to respond to your mold issue in your rental housing. If you follow these steps suggested in exactly the order they are laid out and keep good records of all the steps you take, it is more likely that you and your landlord will be able to reach a good resolution of the problem. It's important to document all mold problems with photographs and to keep records of your written communication with your landlord. So, everything written out, um, emails saved, I guess, taking pictures, and also you can make journal entries if you're going to court. Journal entries hold up in court. So water can come in from leaking roof pipes, other problems in the building. It can build up from steam in the showers, heat from cooking, and other normal activities. Moisture is coming from the inside. It's important to improve air circulation by opening windows using exhaust fans. A common source of mold is condensation, which happens when it's cold outside and inside it's warm. So condensation on your windows, if the water isn't cleaned up, mold or mildew can grow on the walls of the window or anything that comes in contact with the wall. You have responsibilities as a renter to report, respond, and prevent. First step is reporting to your landlord in writing as soon as you notice. If you go to the Oregon Law Help, there is a actual letter included in the packet that you can use to tell your landlord about mold and mildew. And you have to send the letter through regular mail, not registered or certified mail, and not email, just regular mail. And you make sure to keep a copy of the letter for your record. You can ask the post office for a certificate of mailing to prove that you sent the letter. You should also take pictures of the mold and store them so that the date is recorded. If you take the pictures with a phone or digital camera, the date should be automatically recorded. Another way to record the date is to send an email to yourself with the photos as attachments. That way you can prove when the photos are taken. If you take the pictures with a conventional camera, make sure to keep that envelope from the photo developer so you can prove when the photos were printed. If it was caused by an obvious leak or problem with the building, then the landlord must fix the problem. However, if the mold mildew growth is on the wall that has one side on the outside of the home, a window or an object touching the exterior like a couch or a bed, one source of the problem is probably condensation. The renter should take the first step in responding to condensation. The second step is to clean up the mold. Cleaning up mold and mildew is actually pretty simple. However, people with breathing problems, comprised immune systems, cancers, who are pregnant, have severe allergies, should not participate in cleanup activities. If you have a disability and your landlord refuses to help with cleanup, you can use Form C included in this packet to ask for reasonable accommodation. Tips for cleaning: use gloves or tie something around your mouth to wear goggles or eye protection or scarf or a towel around your nose and mouth. Take lots of breaks in areas with plenty of fresh air. If it's on a hard surface, then you can use soap and warm water. Wipe down the area, throw out the sponge or rag you used for cleaning, and then let the area dry. If necessary, put a heater or fan nearby to make sure that the area dries out. I have my own protocol for this that I have never actually had to use, but I've thought about it in the event that I had to take care of it myself, which is using a piece of saran wrap, or you can cut open a plastic bag, putting tape around the edges, and then in the center, putting a cloth or a paper towel that is soaked up with some kind of killing agent and taping it around the mold, letting it sit for 15 minutes to half an hour to let everything kill off, and then simply undoing the tape and wiping everything away, um, enclosed. So also wearing gloves, wearing a mask, using any kind of heat and air purifying techniques in the area, like an air purifier. If it has penetrated an item, there's also a form to make record of the item about how much money the item is worth. You should also take a photo of the item before you throw it away. If it's on fabric or upholstery, you can wash the item in hot water and dry it thoroughly. If it's not possible, you can try wiping it off and then drying it out. But you may also have to throw away the items. And that's what happened to me. I was so sensitive that no matter what, it wouldn't come out of any kind of anything that was porous. If it's an area you can't reach, like inside the wall, under the floor, in the crawl space, let your landlord know about it using, there's a letter 1 in there. It's the landlord's responsibility to clean those areas. Once you've cleaned it up and thrown anything out, keep your home aired out. Crack a window once a day. Run the exhaust fan in the bathroom when you take a shower and for at least 15 to 30 minutes after. If your exhaust fan doesn't work, tell your landlord. If you don't have an exhaust fan, open a window. Keep your home heated. If there's a problem with your heat, tell your landlord in writing. Make sure all the furniture is at least 2 inches away from the outside, any outside wall. Run a towel along the bottom edge of every window at least once a week in winter to remove condensation. If necessary, use a dehumidifier to reduce moisture. If there's a repair problem that's causing the moisture in the air, your landlord needs to fix it. Once you've reported the mold mildew to your landlord, cleaned it up, and taken steps to prevent its regrowth, if the mold comes back, it's your landlord's responsibility to fix the problem. So again, once you've reported it, cleaned it up, and taken steps to prevent it, if it comes back, then it's your landlord's responsibility. If you continue to make cleanup and prevent mold and there's water leaking, the landlord has to repair the leak. And the most important thing is you must make the request in writing. So always make requests in writing and keep copies of them. Any letter that you write should include your name, your address, your landlord's name and address, the date you're sending the letter, specific information about the problem, deadline for repairs, at least 10 days after the date of the letter. They have 10 days from the date of the letter to make the repairs. Either give it to the landlord personally or send it through regular first-class mail, not certified, not registered, but first-class mail. The landlord could refuse to sign for them. To prove you sent the letter, you can ask the post office for a certificate of mailing at the time you send the letter. Be sure to keep a copy of the letter so you can ask for a certificate of mailing. You can also take a photo of the letter and save it on your phone or in your email account. You can send an email or text message to your landlord in addition to the letter, but do not rely on email or text messages to communicate. Oregon law requires the renter send a letter either in person or by first-class mail in order to take many legal steps. Take pictures of the problem and save them somewhere safe. Either print them out or attach them to an email that you send to yourself. Give your landlord the amount of time stated in your letter to make the repairs. You must allow your landlord access to your home to make the repairs. If you don't allow access, the landlord is not obligated to complete the repairs and could potentially terminate your rental agreement. The landlord is also allowed to come into your home without giving you notice ahead of time for 7 days after the landlord gets the letter requesting repairs. After that 7 days, the landlord is required to give you 24 hours notice. If your landlord doesn't fix the problem on time, or if the repairs don't solve the problem, and if the problem can be fixed with a repair that costs less than $300, you can send letter 2 included in this packet or write your own. Your letter should include your name, address, landlord's name, address, date you're sending the letter, date you sent letter 1, specifics about the ongoing problem, statements that you will will deduct money from the rent to pay for repairs if the repairs are not completed within 1 week from the time you sent letter 2. You cannot legally deduct for repairs without telling your landlord in writing first. You must give the landlord a receipt for the amount of the repair, up to $300. There are landlord tenant laws online that you can find at an address that is on the Renter's Handbook for Mold webpage. If the repairs don't solve the problem, consider reporting to a local code enforcement. If the landlord is refusing to help or saying there is no problem, you may also consider hiring a mold inspector. If the inspector finds mold and deducts that it's not caused by you, you can deduct the cost of the inspection from the rent. But if the inspector does not find mold or concludes that it was caused by you, you would have to pay for the inspection. Alternate housing. If the landlord isn't fixing the problem and you believe the mold to be causing a serious threat to your health, safety, or property, you may need to temporarily move. You should only do this if you have some kind of written proof from a healthcare provider, a report from a code enforcement or other official agency, or a report from a private inspector. If you believe that you are in danger if you stay, and if you have written proof that you or your family are in danger, you should send letter 3 to your landlord. The landlord gives you 3 options. You can terminate the rental agreement within 48 hours, move into a motel and deduct the cost of the motel from the rent, or pay partial rent to make up for the reduced value of your rental. Again, you can't use that option unless you have proof that you have given your landlord a written notice about the problem and told the landlord what you plan to do. If you do end up withholding rent, the landlord may issue a non-payment notice or a termination notice. If that happens, you should talk to a lawyer. For legal assistance, you can contact the Oregon's State Bar's Lawyer Referral Service at 1-800-452-7636. There's also information and assistance available to help you represent yourself in court. And then there is another web address here on the Renter's Handbook for Mold webpage. It's important that you respond to the notice as soon as possible. After the deadline and the termination notice passes, your landlord can take you to court to try to evict you. But if you follow these steps exactly and kept copies of all the required paperwork, you should be able to prove that you deducted rent as allowed by law. That is a legal defense against an eviction. If your landlord sends you a non-payment notice, you should respond in writing. Explain that you withheld rent as permitted by law and that you provided written repair requests before without holding rent. If possible, let the landlord know that you still have the rent that you withheld. If you withheld rent to pay for minor repairs or the cost of alternate housing, provide your landlord with copies of your receipts. If the landlord decides to take you to court, you will receive a summons. It's very important that you show up on the court date and time stated in the summons. If you don't show up, your landlord will win automatically. If you can't come to an agreement on the first appearance, you must ask for a trial. To ask for a trial, you'll need to file an answer with the court and either pay a filing fee or apply for a fee waiver. It's a good idea to have an attorney for your trial. If possible, you can contact the Oregon State Bar at 1-800-452-7636. Be prepared to present copies of the letters you sent your landlord requesting repairs and any receipts to the judge at trial. Tenants also have the legal right to sue their landlords for reduced rental value if the rental has been in poor condition for a long time. There are 2 ways that the tenant can do this: as a counterclaim in an eviction or as an independent lawsuit. Counterclaim. If your landlord is trying to evict you and you're asking for a trial, you can also file a counterclaim against the landlord. If the counterclaim, you can ask for the court to order the landlord to pay you back for the excess rent the landlord charged for a rental that wasn't livable. If you decide If you decide to file a counterclaim, keep in mind that the court can order you to pay the full rent into court while the case is going on. This means that if you're being evicted for non-payment of rent and you don't have the money to pay the rent, you may not be able to bring a counterclaim. Independent lawsuit. You don't have to wait for an eviction case to try to get back some of the rent that you paid to your landlord. You can also file your own lawsuit. Depending on how much of the rent you think you should get back, you can sue in small claims court. Small claims court is a simplified process for people who don't have lawyers to sue for up to $10,000. If you want more information about suing in small claims court, go to www.oregonrentersrights.org or call Legal Aid at 503-224-4086 and ask for a copy of our Renter's Handbook on Small Claims Court. You may also find additional information on Oregon State Bar's website and the website is again on the webpage for the Renter's Handbook on Mold. You don't have to sue in small claims court. If you want to sue your landlord for more than $750, you can sue in regular civil court. That process is more complicated, and you will probably need a lawyer to help you. No matter how you decide to try to get back money for reduced rental value, you should be prepared to prove that the rental was in such bad condition that you shouldn't have to pay full rent. If you've followed the steps in this booklet, you should have plenty of evidence, like photos of the problems, written repair requests to the landlord, letters or other papers from healthcare providers about the problems, reports from building inspectors, code inspectors, or public housing inspectors, eyewitness testimony from you, your family, or friends about the condition of the rental. And then they have all the forms here that you can print off and fill out, as well as a checklist. I hope that helps you absorb all that information. There is also a more condensed version of this that tries to sum up everything so that if you need to review it, you can watch that one as well.